All right. Many thanks, Musbah Dan Wahab, for that background report. Let's now begin this conversation by welcoming our guests. And first, let me welcome Abrahim Adebayo Shitu, who is a lawyer and politician. He is a former Minister of Communications. We welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
And let me also welcome Ahmed Sajo, Public Relations Specialist and a strategic thinker. He is former Commissioner for Information, Adamawa State. A pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Also joining us for the conversation, but not right here in the studio, all the way from Jos, is distinguished Senator Simon Bako Lalong. He represents Plateau South Senatorial District in the 10th Senate. He was former Speaker and Governor of Plateau State and former Chairman, Northern Governors Forum. Many thanks for joining us, sir. All right. Also joining us for this conversation via Zoom from Lagos is Femi Adesina, former presidential aide. Many thanks for joining us, sir. Via Zoom. Former presidential aide. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
All right. I wish I had Mr. Adesina. I would have loved to begin from that end, if you could hear me. I wish I had. I wish I had Nigeria. I choose to begin with you because being former spokesperson to the former president, you had a bit of a personal relationship with the man. More than most, I want to believe, because you have to take personal briefings at times and all of those. Seeing the emotions, seeing the speeches at yesterday's special FEC session, would you say this resonates or resonated with what you knew about him? Was it on a personal note, what they talked about, or as a professional? How would you describe the tributes at yesterday's FEC session?
Thank you very much. What that FEC session showed me was that there are some truths that are now universal about the late President Muhammadu Buhari. Each person that spoke and I listened to, I just told myself, oh, it's like this person knew the president personally. And I knew it was not so. So what that tells us, what it shows us, is that some truths have become universal about him. When they talked about his honesty, his forthrightness, his simplicity, his humility, everything was just in line with the man Buhari. So it was a good session. It was a session that made one to be proud of the late president once again.
Many thanks, Mr. Adesina, for your opening comments. We'll get back to you. Let's now return to the studio and hear from our guests right here about the late President Muhammadu Buhari. I'd like to get to Abdurrahim Adebayo Shitu, now former Minister of Communications. I mean, Femi Adesina thinks that some truths about the former president are now universal. I would like you to share with us,
well,
what you think about
the truth is
him.
So many Nigerians know what the truth is, but I think getting to copy or imitate the truth is usually a problem with us in Nigeria. Because the life of the late Buhari is an open page for everybody in this country. Some hate him, some love him, for whatever reasons. But to get people to do like he did has always been a problem. This is a president who was president on 2 or 3 occasions. And for those of us who were sufficiently close to him, we never saw any time that he was wearing any new dresses or putting on new shoes and all of that. He was simply himself at all times. I always love to refer to him as perhaps the most incorruptible political leader in this country. And if we have such a leader, more often than not, it's only after he has left us that we appreciate him. One would have loved that all the platitudes about the president were things that Nigerians would have loved to imitate even while he was alive, even when they were seeing him on an everyday, platform. But the man is gone now. It is for us, I hope that writers will try to put pen to paper and expand on some of these, good things that he has done.
You say he was incorruptible. Would you say that his
Perhaps
corruption, the most incorruptible, would you say his corruption drive when he was president was effective?
Well, he was incorruptible as an individual. It was not necessarily, thing shared by even a lot of people around him. He was just himself.
Which was why I was going to ask how much his persona.
Yes.
It's about him, We're not talking the administration now. He was incorruptible as an individual. But how much did that trickle down to those of you who worked with him at the time that you worked with him?
Well, it's a thing of regret to say that not many people, saw the need, a compelling need to behave like he did. He was also alone. He was an island of himself, unfortunately. There were so many people very close to him, particularly, and I say this with all due respect, people who were even relations, people he brought together to assist him in his government. A lot of them didn't really have anything for people to envy, about them. But the man is dead now. I think Nigeria should make better progress in the area of fighting corruption. Let people who work with government be committed and be compelled to do the needful in regard to public offices. This is a very serious situation we are in this country. And it's unfortunate, when he was a military, head of state, I think he did much better in regard to enforcing incorruptibility when he was in military. Well, when he
because there was no bureaucracy. Really.
Because, but as a civilian regime, he was laid bare. He was,
all right. Thank you so much. One of your comments is that he was an island. He was on his own. I mean, he had very rare qualities, and those around him couldn't, imbibe those qualities. Speak to us, really. During his time as president, would you say that he did much, especially with the media, just so that Nigerians could understand him and understand his personality better, compared to the things that were happening during his time as president?
Well, let me start by saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant late Muhammadu Buhari al-Jannah Firdaus. May Allah accept his soul, and may Allah forgive him of his shortcomings as a human person. I knew Buhari, well, not personally, but I knew him much longer than this. I was in primary school when he became the governor of the Northeast, and I was part of that Northeast. And we knew how he tried to change the landscape in the Northeast region at that time, before states were further created and he became the governor of Borno State. And later, I was on duty in NTA Yola on the 31st of December when soldiers came and took over the station. And we were trapped in the station for about 4 days. We couldn't go home because soldiers had taken over the station. That was when we learned that Muhammadu Buhari had become the military head of state. Again, we had our experiences at that time, and I could recall quite a number of those experiences. But we all knew, that one trait that came through was that he was personally, morally upright. You can't question that. But at every turn of events, one of the things that people complain is that he moves solo. He believes in something and he pursues it very tenaciously, but it's very difficult for people on the same journey with him to understand where he was heading to and to go with him on that journey. But one very critical thing is that in relating with the media, Buhari is Buhari. He does not say what he doesn't mean, and he does not mean what he doesn't say. He's been very straight. If you want to understand the Buhari era, the first Buhari era when he was military head of state, go to any library, pick up any newspaper. When Buhari tells you that he likes cartoons, some of us who understood why he did so, I did a lot of research on what happened during Decree 4. People were afraid of writing or speaking out. And so the medium of expressing dissent to government policies were cartoons. And they were quite ingenious and, very crafty cartoons during that period. And so he himself, as head of state, began to enjoy some of the cartoons because these were the only means through which people could express dissent at that time. But he related very well with the media. He related very well because he just came out himself, and the media, kept feasting on it. You remember his word when they put pressure on him as to why his spouse was saying a different thing from what they wanted. Look at it, very simple, witty, and straightforward, and he made a statement that became a catchphrase in the entire country till today. So that kind of person, that's the kind of person
all right.
when it comes to engaging the media.
Thank you very much. Let's quickly get to Senator Simon Lalong, who's joined us from Jos. Good to see you again, distinguished Senator Lalong. Now, you yourself are a northern leader, and I'd just like to find out from you, in your opinion, how the late former president's presidency influenced politics and governance in the North.
Well, thank you very much. Let me, on behalf of myself and also the good people, supporters from Plateau, also express our condolences once again to the family of our former president, President Muhammadu Buhari, and also to the president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, I said this because many people are even calling me to say, we didn't see you in Daura. I must tell you, I must confess that I didn't believe believe the story. It took me 2 days and I broke down. On the day we were all going to be buried, he was going to be buried, I was also in the hospital. So I couldn't go to Daura. I regret that, but I still cherish what Mr. President did for him, a wonderful departing gift, I must say, to our former president. Now, coming back to the relationship, like you said, I must say, President Buhari was one of those that called me when we were going to do elections. And when I went to him, after I realized that there was some manipulation, I must say, by the present vice president, who was calling me to be sure that I must be in Kaduna for the election of the Northern Governors Forum. I said, what is my own? I want to go and nominate somebody, and Your Excellency, you are saying that I must be there. I knew something was happening. So by the time I got there and I was nominated that night, I had to call Mr. President Buhari. I said, look, this thing happened before to one of my former governors. He was nominated but rejected. I don't want to be nominated and rejected. And President Buhari said, look, I am part of those who said you must be the next Northern Governors Chairman. Imagine a president telling you that. Imagine a president telling you that. So on the day one, the next day, when Kashim ensured I was elected, and he now gave me the mantle for 4 years, I got in touch. I was very close to Mr. President. After that, nominated as a DG campaign for Kashim, for Tinubu and Kashim, brought me again more closer to President Buhari. I can go on and tell you some of the aspects of this relationship that I will say were some of these things that influenced a lot of things that I did when I was governor of Plateau State, because I saw him as an idol. I saw him as somebody that you copy in the way of his simplicity. Let me tell you, those who travel with him will tell you, anytime you are invited to travel with Buhari, President Buhari, to any country, you know that you are also going to be in trouble. We always whisper with ourselves and say, wow, by the time you get into the plane, what he does is that he will not leave where you are sitting. He will leave his place and come and sit with you until you start sleeping. That's when he will leave. There was one who was there with myself and 2 governors, and so we were so tired. He came, sat down, and we were discussing. What we did was I pushed my leg. I said, let's feign that we are sleeping. We felt that we were sleeping, and he said, you people want to sleep? We said, yes, sir. Then he left. After we had not slept for about 1 or 2 hours, and he came back again. When he came back and woke us up, I said, what? We had not slept, sir. He said, sleeping what? He said, you told me you were going to sleep. I am back again, and back to discuss all your states. That was opportunity for you to be free to discuss everything you had in your state. For me, he came 3 times. All the places in the north each time. If there was trouble, he would call me. He would say, Chairman, there is trouble in Zamfara. Chairman, there is trouble in Katsina. What are you people doing about it? And when we got, in terms of the economic aspect, the oil well at Kolmani, that was the one that we pushed. We pushed heavily to the point where, before his exit, he ensured that it was commissioned. He made sure that all northern, the NDC, all the outstanding salaries and everything were paid. And he also got in touch with so many things that I can't say on this television. Now let me put the other humanitarian aspect. You know the law on disabilities. We copied the one from Plateau State. He came, he called me and said, look, I learned you are doing very well in disabilities in Plateau. I said, yes, sir. He said, what is the magic? They are saying they want the same repeated here through the Honorable Minister Sadia. I said, well, we can do that. And when we brought the law from Plateau State, copied it at the national, he now said, look, go and bring that you are DG in Plateau. We'll appoint him as the national coordinator of the Disability Rights Commission. And that was the same person I brought. What about the young, not too young to run? When they came to me and said, look, help us, when the young people were already putting the law, he said, oh, you want the young people to run? I said, yes, sir. He said, you want them to run? He said, yes. Where is the law? I said, the law is coming. We're pushing it to you. We pushed it to him, and he signed. Although that caused problem for me, too, in my house. Because the day the law was signed, my son was challenging me that I should pack and leave because this is their time. This is their time to start running, to start running. And Buhari, anytime you come to him, you sometimes don't predict. Because at the time that you are thinking that you are coming to meet a military leader, he will change. There was a time he called. I was wondering why he was calling me. They say he wanted to see me. I was even afraid. When I got it, he said, he usually calls me the man from the rocks. He said, from these your rocks, when you get back to the rocks, you don't want to get out of the rocks again. The first question he asks is, why don't you come to see me? I don't see you frequently here, Governor Plateau. I said, sir, but you told us not to be disturbing you. You told us not to be disturbing you. You said we should not ask you for appointments because when we do appointments in our various states, nobody bothers, or we don't discuss with you. Then what he said, no, you will be wrong. I want you to frequent this place. Bring all your problems. Bring all your problems. And that day was when I went there. The day I went there, I came out with something. 3 appointments. He said, bring anything that you want. I gave him 3. I said, these are 3 proposals that I have been fighting to get. He said, bring them. I brought them, and he signed. All of them were appointed. So, in terms of simplicity, it was one side. His spirit about fighting corruption was very, very, everybody will tell you that it was factual. I say factual because anybody that told you, that will tell you that Buhari was pretending when he was fighting corruption, that person is not a Nigerian. I don't think...
Many thanks, Senator Lalong, for your response to that question. Very interesting, you know, I mean, the relationship you had with the former president. But, you know, you mentioned something about security and him asking you about the situation. That's often one area critics point to when they want to talk about his time as president. They talk about the economic and security struggles. Would you say that the former president did enough in these areas?
He did enough. I told you about what he was doing about the North, specifically about Plateau State. The very moment we had a first meeting with him, and all of us were complaining, he singled out Plateau and he said, look, you people are talking about bailout. Well, some of you are coming back for the second time, governors. I will assume that you are part of those who wreck your states. But for this young man, he pointed at me. He said, for this young man, Plateau, I wonder what you are going to do in Plateau. Because your state is bedeviled, you are inheriting crisis, and I've seen your account very empty. I don't know what you do. Well, for people like you, I will do bailout. And that was when he started the process of bailout. And true to that, when I came in, you realize that within 3-4 months, we were able to summon all the troubles in Plateau State. Everything he said that is possible, he said, please feel free, Mr. Governor. Feel free to tell me I want peace in Plateau. I live in Plateau State before I became military head of state. I bought my first plot of land in Plateau State, and my dream with my late wife was that we were coming back to live in Plateau State. Each time I meet him, I remember these words. He said, I bought my first plot, not with my money, not even in Daura. I bought my first plot in Plateau State because of the weather and because people wanted to live in Plateau State. Please ensure that you bring back sanity to Plateau State. So we did our best. And you remember that he came to Plateau how many times? Every time there was crisis, Buhari will come. At one time, there was crisis in Plateau State. The vice president, he sent the vice president to come. The vice president came, slept, took every complaint. The next day, the vice president was going, I was at the airport. There was no need for him to come again. But when we saw the vice president at the airport, the vice president left. I was going to drive back, and the GOC called me. He said, look, you have to go back. I said, what? He said, I have another signal. I said, what is the signal? That Mr. President is on the way to Jos again. I said, the vice president was here 2 days. It's enough. He said, no. President said he was coming himself. And indeed, he came himself. Because of the challenges, he provided so many security outfits. Is it the rescue barracks, Air Force? Is it the Air Force mobile stations that he created in Plateau State? Is it the peace building agency that we created and he launched and made it an example to be used all over the North, all over the North in terms of engagement, in terms of engagement? And then the Operation Rainbow, that he was always giving directives so that they will ensure there was peace on the plateau. So that was the same thing that was happening. When we came, you remember Borno, the Boko Haram. How he addressed Boko Haram in Borno, and then the situations in the Northwest. All of them were challenges that Buhari concentrated on. And he said, look, all these things are about poverty. Let us ensure that we take people off poverty. Now, by the time you take people off poverty, also ensure that in your various states there is fairness, equity, and justice. And justice. That will be the guiding principle in addressing some of these insecurities. So for me, I can always say, people are calling us, they say Buhari's children. Some will even say Buhari's cabal, Buhari's this, Buhari's that, Buhari's that. I will tell you that I don't regret working with President Buhari all my time until I left him. The regrettable aspect was that 2 days before he left, I think 2 or 3 days, somebody went to visit him in Kaduna, and he came back, a senator. He said, look, you better go and see Baba. I said, what happened? He said, I went there, and immediately I went to see him. He asked me, how is Lalong doing in the Senate? Imagine somebody asking after you like that. So I was preparing to go to see him when they said he went to the UK. And unfortunately, he didn't come back. May his soul rest in peace, and may God grant him pardon for all his sins.
Thank you very much, Senator Lalong. Thank you. Now, let me get back to Mr. Adesina, Femi Adesina, who is joining us via Zoom. Now, I made the point earlier that you had one of, the vantage positions being a close aide of the then president. And I want to ask, in his quieter moments, what exactly did he reflect on the most? Was it about leadership? Was it about legacy? Or might it be, office itself, the weight of office?
Thank you very much. I had the privilege of being given a rain check that I could see him anytime, whether in the office or at home. Of course, if I saw him in the office, it would be for official issues. I don't take private issues to him in the office. If I had a private issue, I just wanted to sit and talk with him, I'll go to the house in the evening. And we had very private moments where it was only me and him. I know one thing that bothered him was that too many people were deviating. I remember the night he lamented, said, we have come to do this job. We have asked these people to come and do it along with us. Now they are here. They are just serving themselves. I pitied him that night. My heart went out to him because they are not everybody. I think it was former Minister Shitu that said that before. Not everybody bought into his principles, particularly about service and about anti-corruption. Some people were just there to serve themselves, just as the president lamented. So that used to worry him a lot. And then another thing that used to trouble his mind was legacy. Legacy. The president felt concerned about the legacy he was going to leave, and he was determined to make a difference. usually will talk about legacy. I remember there was a time prices went up, skyrocketed in the country, and there were complaints. So that night I went to see him. Mr. President, things are difficult. People are complaining. He said, I know, because people from my own constituency who can reach me are also telling me. He said, we have this opportunity to make a difference in the country, and we are resolved to make it. So making a difference was uppermost in his mind. He felt that what he had was a divine opportunity to effect change in the country. And so it was uppermost in his mind at all times.
Many thanks, Femi Adesina. Let's return to the studio now. Maybe I'll get to Ahmed Sajo this time. I mean, so many comments about all that the former president did and, you know, beautiful things, really. But would you say that he did so much to unify the country, you know, during his time as president, especially because, I mean, we're beginning to see increasing ethnic and religious tensions in different parts of the country. Just look at the 8 years he was president and his actions and inactions. Did you say it promoted unity in this regard?
I must say that Muhammadu Buhari was a man of honor, and his template was very simple, that everything he wanted it built around the honor that he cherishes as a person. And to that extent, he had a large quantum of trust. He trusted people. He trusted people to a fault, to the extent that he believed throughout his life that people should act responsibly and reasonably. And I heard people yesterday during the FEC, everybody was mentioning about the fact that he was a moral compass for the country. And it was on the basis of that morality that he expected everybody to behave. So if for any reason actions were taken that were seen to be contrary to expectations, they were not directly from Buhari. They may have come from people he entrusted to take certain actions to ensure certain things happen. But he is not a kind of person that will create disaffection deliberately. And I give you an example. My brother Garba Shehu, when he was launching his book, made mention of a statement that people tend to overlook. Garba Shehu had worked with Waziri Atiku Abubakar, and when government was formed, it was Atiku Abubakar that actually gave Buhari Garba Shehu to work with. For the 8 years that Garba Shehu worked with Muhammadu Buhari, anytime there was a reason to respond to a statement from Atiku, he never asked Garba Shehu to do it. He respected the fact that Garba Shehu had worked with Atiku. That's the kind of moral, compass we're talking about. Somebody who had honor. I cannot, you cannot come from somebody's house and I send you to go and destroy the house. So in terms of building unity for our country, Buhari's template was that first there has to be honor. We must be honorable enough to understand that we have roles. Each individual has a role. And then secondly, Buhari understood that we are duty-bound morally to behave in a manner that will promote the best interest.
Do you think that style of governance
yes, yeah.
or leadership works in a country like Nigeria, a situation where you hand over responsibility to people and then you just allow them to,
Well, there is nothing like allow them to. there is, what I am telling you is that he expected them to. If they betrayed that expectation, you know, we pray that if you want to put the fault on his doorstep, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him for that. But he had expectations. Let me tell you, at the time Buhari became president, personally, I was not a Nigerian. Because at that time, my area, the area where I come from, had been taken over by a group that called itself Boko Haram and, you know, had changed the name of my hometown to Madinatul Islam and had ransacked most of us and made us non-Nigerians. Buhari brought us back.
Have you reapplied for citizenship?
Buhari brought us back. So any one of us that's from those areas that were taken over, that were recovered by Muhammadu Buhari, we should continue to say thank you to him for bringing us back to Nigeria. So if he didn't want a Nigeria that was united, he would have just asked us to, oh yeah, you have already gone, just go your way. Then he will ask other people to also go their way. No. I think he did the best he could do within the circumstances that he found himself. He respected people, he trusted people, he worked with people, and of course you cannot be a leader unless you work with people. Nobody leads himself. We always say, even the grave digger, you know, requires people to bury the person. So no matter your condition, you need people. And he needed people. He worked with people. He trusted people. He respected people's views. He never, you will never hear of Buhari chiding somebody or talking to somebody, talking down to somebody in public. There is no record of that anywhere, that he disgraced somebody in public because he was disgusted by the actions of the person. In private, he could do that, but in public, he never did, because he had respect for everybody. And that is the greatest legacy we need to take from Muhammadu Buhari.
All right.
We need to respect each other.
All right. Thank you very much, Ahmed Sajo. While you were talking, in fact, it was a profound point you made about Garba Shehu, because it frees him up from being a conflicted person. You have a lot of people around today who had worked with person A and hailed him and spoke every lofty things about the person, and today, they work with person B, and you have a lot of them in the space. But Garba Shehu has been spared, that kind of lifestyle and
because of
character.
The person he worked with.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Let me get to former Minister of Communications. I was just wondering while he spoke too, from the cabinet while you worked, I'm just imagining what was it like briefing the former president on tech, for instance. Let's assume, I can't remember what exactly we called it. Was it the technology village or something that you tried at the time? What was it like briefing him, trying to convince him on technology?
Well, he was at home with everybody and with every issue. The thing is, he doesn't impose himself on all his ideas on anybody. He's one person who is easygoing, one person who is self-effacing, one person, like he said, he doesn't talk down on anybody. My problem really with him is that in government, my experience is when we're in a Federal Executive Council meeting and there's an issue, the then Chief of Army Staff, the then Chief of Staff to the President at that time, once in the course of discussions, once the then Chief of Staff, the late, Chief of Staff, Abakari was sitting fourth to him. Once Abakari stands up from his seat and goes to put something in Buhari's ears, yes, you can be sure that issue is gone. You can imagine. I mean, I recall one of the things which pained me as a person.
But isn't that about trust? He trusted him so much.
It was too much. It was too much. I mean, the man was a human being. He had his own idiosyncrasies. He had his own likes and, and advantages taken. You can imagine if we were discussing about establishing, for instance, an ICT university in Nigeria. And then suddenly you find that somebody goes to the president, and the president says, Barrister Shitu, I want to commend you for your hard work on this memo, but as you can see, it is an overambitious project. I was wondering, what is overambitious about having an ICT university in Nigeria? You can imagine what that would have done for Nigeria since the past 6-7 years. Having had, if we had succeeded in having an ICT university for the past 6 years.
We have one on transport.
We have one on transport, and in fact, between that time and now, we've had more than 20 new universities. I don't think there was any which was as important or as critical to national development and youth development as an ICT university. Unfortunately, it was frustrated. I had another experience, personal experience. I discovered that in Nigeria we have the system in orbit. We have this system. What is it called? We have. I've forgotten. One of our agencies has just one satellite in orbit.
Okay.
We have just one satellite in orbit. If a country as big as Nigeria has only one satellite in orbit, even government agencies will not patronize that agency. They would rather go to Asian countries where they have extra satellites, so that when one, gets destroyed or collapses, you have an extra. It's just like you have a transport company, flying Lagos, Abuja, and for such a company not to have extra tire. Can you imagine a transport company not having extra tire? Who would patronize them? Because if one tire bursts on the way, you'll be stuck. But I went to China at that time. I went to negotiate with the satellite, those who manufacture satellites. I wanted 2 extra satellites so that adding those 2 to 1 will make us comfortable, and then we can appeal to Nigerians to patronize Nigeria Satellite Company. But the same man, the late chief of staff, he frustrated it.
How did you take these frustrations at that time?
Well, I just take it in my stead because I have a boss, and my responsibility is to the boss. It is his job that I was doing, of course, for Nigeria. If the man says, no, sorry, we can't make progress, what do I do?
You didn't look for an opportunity to meet with the president as at that time?
No. In ESCO meetings, in executive council meetings, do I have to go and... what do I do? So these are challenges that really we had. I had. But I wanted to make contributions to national development.
And this speaks to just him trusting people too much and people not buying
he trusted
into
some
the
of
kind
his
of
people
life he lived.
too much.
All right, many thanks. Let's get to Senator Lalong now. As we deep in this conversation about the former president, now late. Speak to us about, some of the foreign policies as at the time, the late Buhari was president, and how that shaped the perception, of the international community about Nigeria. And, speaking about perception, would you say that his time as president, he was understood? Do you think he was understood or misunderstood even by Nigerians?
I will say that in most cases he was sometimes misunderstood by Nigerians, because in Nigeria too he had a very wild followership. while, I call it wild followership, because especially in the north, anywhere Buhari went, it will be difficult to control people. I had experience here in Plateau State when he came for campaign, on those two occasions. We even lost people in the stadium because the security could not control the crowd that were going. So that is to tell you, the poor man's, the average Nigerian's perception of him. I also had opportunity to travel with him 2 or 3 countries. The first one was the invitation by President Donald Trump in his first, when he came in first as a president. Trump invited us, and I saw the way and the manner Trump was discussing with us, very free, and the way he took him. I was wondering, I said, if this is the same Buhari that they are talking about outside differently, and here we are with President Trump. The second one, we also traveled to, we went to Japan. We went to Japan with him. And when we got to Japan, a lot of discussions, and I knew why he went to Japan. I knew how he was getting to put Nigeria outside the world so that a lot of things can also come back, be brought back to Nigeria. I then traveled again, one of it, to Netherlands. His passion about agriculture took us to Netherlands, and I saw wonderful things. And every time he traveled with governors, he will tell you, you must pick something, so that when you get back, I will do something. We traveled there, and when we came back, I had the advantage of getting Africa Development Bank to finance potato value chain, because I know that one of his favorite food is potato. He will always remember and say that there is no way he cannot eat potato in a day. And he said Plateau can produce potato and export potato outside the country, but insecurity will not allow us to do that. So we must address that insecurity. So in order to do that, some of these things that you are talking about in terms of foreign policy, I don't see where, I have not seen any country, because during our time, saying that the man was a bad man, because most of them were even eager and very, very willing to invite him to come. He was inviting them, they will also come. There was something I left out too. You remember the national livestock. Majority of the crisis in northern Nigeria was about farmer settlement, especially in the north central zone. Who brought out the national livestock transformation scheme? It was President Buhari. Some will say he doesn't like anybody, he prefers to protect the Fulani. He said, no, we must find something to put security so that farmers can go to farm, so that the herders can also freely rear their cows. For him, he's both a farmer and a cattle rearer. So transformation came, and I'm very happy that his successor, his very, very, very good friend, President Tinubu, has taken up the challenge to create even federal ministry, the Ministry for Livestock Development, to curb the insecurity in the north, especially relating to farmers' herdsmen. So for him, anytime he was invited outside, he will go there. You expect a man of dignity. You expect that your president is going as a man of dignity. You expect that your president projecting you as a man of honor. And your president is going there in selfless capacity. Selfless because there was nothing that he will ever be doing and thinking of himself. He was always thinking of his country. So when people talk about patriotism, I don't think anybody can doubt that in the late President Muhammad Buhari. So once again, I will always say that if we leave us on this television, first, let me tell you one secret too about his patriotism. Each time he travels with President Buhari, he will make sure that in that country he must watch NTA and he must read Nigerian newspapers. Whatever he will do, no matter how tight, he must watch NTA. His favorite is NTA. He must watch NTA news. There was a time we traveled and they were doing elections in the state. He was the one who gave us the result. We slept off till the next day. When we came back in the morning, he said, well, he asked us, what was the result of the election, the primaries that were going yesterday? We said, we slept off. He said, you look at you. He said, this was the result. I said, how did you watch that? He said, I was on NTA till daybreak. On NTA till daybreak. On NTA till daybreak. So you will make sure you will read Nigerian newspapers. Well, he likes it. Femi Adesina is here. If it is newspapers, that President Buhari will read newspapers from one column to the other. And I like the way he was reading newspapers. Not the one that they mark for him and then he will just go where they put asterisks. No, he will open the paper from page to page, from every line to every line. That is to tell you that a president, even in his busy schedule, is concerned about Nigeria, is concerned about the plight of his citizens.
Senator Lalong, thank you so very much. I guess we'll pause here to take a break so that when we return, we can take messages that are pouring in and then get back to Mr. Adesina. Please stay with us. All right, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria, where we've been discussing the Federal Executive Council special session in honor of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari just yesterday. And now we have messages pouring in. I have quite a number myself. Let's begin with this one from architect Godwin James from Akwa Ibom State. He says, it is quite pertinent that we miss such a leader, simple human being, transparent and sincere president. May his soul rest in peace. Amen, he says. And from Yusuf, PMB was a good man. Let me say his ways are shaping my thinking, especially his simplicity, honesty, principles, and efforts to serve the people. This will remain with me to death, he says. And then late Muhammadu Buhari stood out as a leader in various aspects. Notably, he remained incorruptible by power and maintained a remarkable simplicity throughout his service to the nation. That's from Chike in Warri Delta State. And finally from me, Good Morning Nigeria. I am Favor from Anambra State. Buhari was a good and great man. His legacy remains. May his soul rest in peace. Amen.
All right, some more messages that we have. We have from Muhammad Awal Musa Afamai. It says, may Allah grant PMB the highest peak of paradise and forgive his sins. My sincere condolence to Nigeria. May Almighty Allah grant him paradise. President Muhammadu Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari, was a gentleman, well-disciplined man who had zero tolerance for corruption. He has left a legacy and good part in the country. May Allah accept his soul. That's coming from Nora Maska in Lagos. Another one says, the man Buhari is an incorruptible leader who tried hard to reposition things in the best way he can. He died a fulfilled person. Today, we're remembering the good things he did. May his soul rest in peace. Another message here from Kwara State from Abdul Ganiyu Suleiman says, late former President Muhammadu Buhari was a man of integrity, a symbol for the politicians to emulate. He was a man of simplicity. He did so many good things in this country. He lived a worthy life. Many young Nigerians benefited from the Empower program, conditional cash transfer, traders money, etc. Another one says, political leadership is about servant leadership towards upholding the social contract. Leaders in various levels of responsibility should emulate late Buhari's style of leadership to build an enduring Nigerian state. And that's from Ben Ozo.
All right, let's get to Mr. Adesina again. Now, communication was one challenging aspect of the Buhari presidency, for many. And I'm going to ask, with the benefit of hindsight, what might you or the administration have done differently, in bridging the gap between intentions and public perception?
Thank you. I doubt if anything could have been done differently, because President Buhari was very reticent. He would not speak. And he had his issues with the media, the carryover was still there. One day he told me, you know, I've parted ways with the media long ago, so you go and sort it out. That was his attitude. When you responded to things in the media, he will love it. There was a day I was on a television program on a Sunday, and he was watching. I didn't know. On Monday morning, he saw me. He said, I saw you last night. I saw how fast your brain was working. And he said, thank you. Thank you for defending me all the time. When you did the work for him, he appreciated it. But he himself, no. He said he had parted ways with the media, and you see that he will rarely talk to the media. He would prefer to talk to us, and we talk to the media. So you have to make the best of it. It was his style. You need to understand the style of your boss. And as a spokesman, you need to understand that you are not speaking for yourself, you are speaking for your boss. So if your boss will not speak, like Donald Trump will tweet and do all that, that's his downsides. But President Buhari is on the other side. You now need to know what his mind is. And when there's a major thing, I'll go and sit with him. This have happened. What is your thinking? So when he speaks with me, I then can speak to the country. So that was the kind of person he was. He could not have done it better with the media, because the media stung him long ago. The 2.8 billion naira thing that they alleged was missing under him as Minister for Petroleum. It didn't happen. But for a man who valued integrity and who valued reputation, that thing lived with him forever. So I doubt if we could have done it better than we did.
Many thanks, Femi Adesina. Let's get to Senator Lalong now to begin to round up this conversation. You've spoken, so well about your relationship with the former president. I'd like you to speak to us about some of the projects, or if you like, the federal presence that the people of Plateau felt as at the time he was president. And also, in addition to that, tell us, what does the statement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that the late president was the people's general, in your own terms, what does that mean?
Thank you very much. When you say somebody is the people's general, that means it's not only commander-in-chief of armed forces, it's commander-in-chief of opinions, public opinions, and then the followership, the leader of the party at that time. So for me, the legacies we got in Plateau, I can name them, several of them. The benefit of my close relationship, we got a federal polytechnic, we got a federal university, we got a federal medical center, we got orthopedic center, we had several security outfits in the state, established in the state. He also created opportunity for us to access so many World Bank projects. I will say that during my time, every aspect of World Bank project was in Plateau State. Talk about the RAM, talk about the RAM, talk about Acrisal, talk about Agile, talk about the potato value chain, but talk about potato value chain. And two, he ensured that governors were very, very careful about payment of salaries. Now, let me tell you, when we came back in 2019, payment of salaries was a condition for recontesting elections in Nigeria. Ask the chairman of the party at that time. President Buhari had given the last lap, I think the last lap of the support, the bailout. But before they paid, he realized that, and within 2 days, he called MFLA. He said, stop that payment, stop that payment. And he stopped. He said, wait for my new directive. The next day, we were there to ensure that everything was paid. They said, President said, no, the payment of the last thing is dependent on payment of salaries. And so they called all the unions were invited. For you to get your payment, your union leader from your NLC chairman will come and say whether you paid salaries or not. You have been paying salaries or not. That one aspect that I was very happy with it. Very few of us made up the line because many governors went back, no money. Because he said if they don't pay, take the whole money, go back and pay. So that is telling you his concern also about workers. He was very, very concerned about workers. So that day, when he said that, he said, look, come and sign. And I saw wonders. We didn't know that all the NLC presidents were there inside the room. They called my own. They said, Plateau. I said, yes. Come and see your money. I came. How much? 10 billion. Where is your NLC chairman? He said, yes. I said, can he sign? He said, yes, he can sign. I said, why? He said, he has paid all our salaries. But today, part of it is that if we follow the legacy of Buhari, we will not have outstanding salaries. If we follow the legacies of Buhari, I don't want to come and start talking about what President Buhari, what President Tinubu has done as the DG of his campaign. I don't want to talk about the incentives, talk about everything. So I will say that it's the same thing, the legacies by his friend he's doing. And he has taken beyond that. Because when we left, the allocations that are going into the states are now almost threefold. So we expect that if people are committed at the subnationals to also follow the threats of Mr. President, to ensure that these things are paid. Salaries are paid as and when due. Projects are in every state like he was monitoring. Because when we get back to elections, let it be the yardstick, like President Buhari did. Let it be the yardstick for contesting election. Otherwise, we'll continue to have poverty in different aspects, and then we blame the leader. We should not be blaming President Buhari, and we should not be blaming President Tinubu, because we know what they have done. So if they have done, and with this kind of scheme, let Nigerians also show some kind of resistance when people are not doing the same, when they are not carrying out these same regulations or orders. So this is one important thing, legacy that Buhari left. So when you come back to the issue of corruption, like I said, because of the bailout scheme, all of us concentrated and everybody knew that if you mess up, President Buhari will jail you. From that, we saw people, even former governors were jailed. If former governors were jailed, how can you say that he will spare anybody? So everybody ensured that you follow. We may not have followed exactly what he was doing because it is different. It will be difficult, even if you ask me today, for many of us to put ourselves in the shoes of the late president. It will be difficult in terms of his character, in terms of his honesty, in terms of his patriotism to Nigeria.
Along, we thank you very much for your contribution so far. Let's get back here in the studio and to Barrister Abdurrahman. Abdurrahim. Why do I keep mixing this up? All right, Abdurrahim Shitu. Now, looking back as one who worked with him closely, would you say that the late President Buhari empowered his cabinet members to speak truth to power, or was it just a top-down approach?
Well, it was never a top-down issue. The problem is with the individuals concerned. President Buhari didn't prevent anybody from speaking out. He gave everybody, an easy ride, as it were.
I mean, even when the then Minister of Women Affairs pledged open loyalty to an opponent, he kept her in the cabinet. She did that. She saw out that term.
Well, Buhari has been Buhari. Interestingly, he doesn't talk much. You know, he's a very taciturn. He doesn't, even if he's annoyed with you, you won't know, because he won't show it. And he doesn't talk down on anybody. He respects everybody, you know. But individuals have their own idiosyncrasies, you know, as to what they will do. But our late president is one person that I believe he meant very well. By nature, he doesn't shout. He's not violent. He was never violent. He doesn't show that he's Oga, as it were. You know, he just... Interestingly, no matter how close you are to him, if he doesn't see you in 3 months, he won't ask of you. Whenever you eventually see, he won't raise eyebrow as to why you have not seen him since. I mean, he's that kind of person. Very easygoing. And he was just a leader. And he expected, you know, that everybody would live up to their, you know, responsibilities and so on. And that was it. I never saw him at any time be annoyed with anybody. He's that kind of person.
All right. So as we round off, I would like, you know, to hear your message to current leaders. What they should learn.
I think before we round up, let's also give honor to whom honor is due. We must commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the way and manner he conducted himself in organizing a befitting national burial for late Muhammadu Buhari, and for organizing a series of events which culminated in yesterday's special session. It's definitely not just commendable, but I think he has provided a template for the way and manner we should respect our former leaders in this country. And I must also say, you know, very sincerely that some of the things President Tinubu said about Buhari yesterday, you know, are things that we should definitely take to our hearts. That he did not only describe him as a selfless person, but is somebody who is not, who has not been changed by power, who had remained himself, and who does not dance to the drummings of applause, but is somebody who determines a moral high ground to stand on at all times, no matter what happened. I think President Tinubu should be commended for what he did, the way he conducted the whole process. And, you know, an Islamic burial is very difficult to fit into the typical state burial kind of template that we know, you know. But be that as it may, he made sure that everything that needed to be done, from the military honors down to official respect and responsibilities to a departed leader, were done. And that we must commend the president for. And we should also, you know, take away from everything that was said yesterday that he was morally upright. I hope and I pray that those who were putting their mouth on the microphone to say Buhari was morally upright should accept also that it is a virtue to be morally upright and to be morally upright themselves. Last and final. Allahumma arham Muhammad Buhari, Allahumma anfir Muhammad Buhari. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive his shortcomings, grant him al-Jannah Firdausi. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also touch the hearts of all our leaders in this country to understand that we need morality, we need honesty, we need to work together as a people. The unity that was displayed in Daura should not be left in Daura. Everybody was in Daura from all parts of the country. That was what Muhammadu Buhari lived for. That was what he fought for in wars, and that's what we should have as his lasting legacy.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Sajo. Let me quickly get to Femi Adesina. Now, in few words, being someone who worked closely with the former president, assume that he was looking down on all that has happened since his passing on Sunday, what do you think he would have said?
Very delighted. He will be very satisfied. And on those who are saying negative things, he will say, head or tail, you never win with Nigerians. That's one thing he likes to say. But by and large, he will be quite delighted with what has been done to him by the government and by those who love him.
Thank you very much, Femi Adesina. Senator Lalong, would like to hear your final words about the man, former President Muhammadu Buhari, in 30 seconds.
Final word about the man is no longer here, but with his virtues. His spirit will continue to live in us. Like we said, all the things that I mentioned about him, let us leaders also continue to copy and continue with them, so that one day, when we part the way he's going, we may also get, at least, if we can't get half, a quarter of what the honor that President Buhari got. And so, again, to thank Mr. President. Like I said, I was privileged to be the DG of the campaign, the man who was in between them every time. Go through to President Buhari, I will go to President Tinubu, and I will see the connection that are there. So I will also say that whatever President Tinubu did it out of his heart. I know how pain. I was even watching his emotions. He was able to control his emotions. For him to even control his emotions at this time is something that is showing a threat in him. So may the soul of our former president continue to rest in peace. And may God also grant his family the comfort to bear this irreparable loss.
Many thanks, Senator Simon Bako Lalong, representing Plateau South Senatorial District in the 10th Senate, and former Speaker and Governor of Plateau State and former Chairman of the Governors Forum. It was a pleasure to have you on the program. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. We'd also like to appreciate Femi Adesina, former presidential aide to the former president. It was indeed a delight to have you on set with us. Thank you so much for your time. We'd also want to thank Abdurrahim Adebayo Shitu, lawyer and politician, former Minister of Communications. Thank you so much, sir,
it's my pleasure,
for joining us. And of course, finally, the former foreigner, now in Nigerian, Ahmed Sajo, public relations specialist and a strategic thinker, former Commissioner for Information, Adamawa State. Many thanks for being our guest. It was indeed
Thank you for accepting me back in Nigeria.
All right, so that's our package this Friday on Good Morning Nigeria. Me and Ray John, do your best and remain tuned to the NTA.
Right, and I am Victor. As well, thank God it's Friday. We'll see you on Monday.
Friday.